love this frame of empathy of the self, because until you brought that up, I didn't really think about it in that way. To your point about empathy for others, that has built over this lifetime of experience on the edge. I've been very blessed, I would say, to have experienced humanity at its extremes, both without and within. I've volunteered in leper colonies, seen extreme poverty, worked with survivors of sex trafficking, been to a war zone, and seen or worked with former child soldiers. And when you see the darkness of the human condition and what we are capable, the horrific things we are capable of doing to each other, it can't help touch your human soul. It stays with you. It lives with you. And that's part of the reason, some of the reasons why I struggled when I came back from the war, because I've always felt like and this is where you have to find your line as you balance on this spectrum of navigating empathy for others, because if you go too far into the darkness, you're going to be consumed by it. There's a quote from Nietzsche that beware he who stares into the abyss, because the abyss will stare back, or something along those lines. The abyss will consume you. And so you have to navigate that, because for a long time I felt always guilty about this life that I've been blessed to live. When you see human suffering and you empathize with it, I wouldn't say it's inevitable you empathize with it, because there's a lot of people who see human suffering and then simply act on that, like commit more suffering, put others in that hell. But for us, like, if you come from that place of love, when love lives within you, you empathize with it and it stays in your soul, And so I've always wrestled with that guilt of, why do I get this life when so many others don't? And it's a question I have no answer to. But it's a question that I had even when I did the darkness retreat. As you know, I've done 7 days in darkness and then 10 days in darkness, 2 separate times. And a big theme for both those experiences was the wrestling with this guilt about my place on this earth. Wrestling with the fact that, when I was in Iraq, my vehicle drove over an active bomb and it didn't explode.
Wow.
I've almost been killed by falling boulders in the Himalayas while glacier caving. I've done a lot of dumb things in my childhood. Before joining the Marines, I was very heavily into drugs, lost 2 friends to addiction, was going down that path. And so when I look at all this, and I had a friend who, his vehicle drove over a bomb and it did explode and he died.
Wow.
Why do I get to survive that? Why not him?
Such a natural question.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I've wrestled with that till the point that I had no answers to. Even, one thing that showed up regularly when I was in the darkness too, I did a 167-mile run across Liberia. It was about a marathon a day for a week, running across the country, and we were raising funds to help build a school out there. And we did. It was amazing. Profound experience personally and spiritually, but also just the impact we were able to make, raising thousands of dollars to build a school. But on the first day of the run, these 2 kids were running next to me. Blessing and Emmanuel were their names. And one of the kids wanted to go to medical school, the other wanted to go to vocational training school. And the odds of that happening were damn near zero. One kid had lost his mother in the war, and his father left, and he was staying with the other kid in this village in Liberia. And I remember running after that and just thinking, what separates me from them? Why do just because I was born to good parents in India, I automatically have 1,000,000 times more opportunities than those 2 kids. And only because they were born where they're born. I didn't do a damn thing to earn that. And I've always struggled with that. And that's where long-winded way, I guess, of saying that empathy for others is, it makes you want to do something about it, That's my whole work, is helping guide people through suffering, bringing light into where there's darkness. That's everything I do in Fearvana. And it's also had a hard impact on empathy for the self. So I can be quite hard on myself. Harder on myself than I would be on any other human being, as you well know, so, which we can dive into. But yeah, just that it's been a journey navigating that and trying to figure out that and how to at least come to peace with it, because I realize that I'll never be able to answer that question of why me. Why do I get this? There's some bigger force at play that I have no idea to. But what I can do is at least make something meaningful of this life that I have now been gifted and do something good with it.